Hey everyone, Corey from Aquarium Co-op. In the new studio, you can. Oh, I just scared all the clown loaches. You can see them, but got some special guests today. We've got Jimmy, of course, because he lives with me now. But we also have Steenfod Aquatics. He came down. We've got 3 computers, 3 setups. The studio now houses 3, so we can have guests. So go ahead, Jimmy, do your magic. There we are. So we're going to talk about breeding fish for profit. Yeah, so who's got the questions? And I'm going to fix Nightbot because it's telling about a promotion that doesn't work anymore. But what am I going to do for breeding for profit? I think my next project, I'm doing it all outside. I've got guppies going on. I've got the Japanese rice fish, which I think those are going to be profitable once everyone falls in love with the video that's going to come out this week. Yeah. So hopefully someone's got questions about it. What do you got, Bob? What do you got going on?
They're saying we have an echo.
There's an echo?
That's what they're saying.
I wonder why.
I am good.
Shouldn't be an echo.
Echo, how bad's echo?
Bad echo. There's an echo lag.
Is it through,
Let me listen.
how bad is it? Is it through Bubs? The Yeti? I mean the Snowball?
It does echo, so I don't know how to fix that though.
Kinda lower Bob's. Let's see if that fixes it.
It was because it was working just fine when we did it just 2. So hopefully everyone keeps spamming us. We are aware of the echo. We will fix that momentarily. Meanwhile, Nick K with the $10 super chat. Thank you for IDing Dropsy on my Gourami. Couldn't save him, but thanks again. I also placed an order for food, plants, co-op shirts, shot glasses, air stones, etc. Can't wait. So hopefully,
I mean,
oh, I'm the echo. Maybe I'm just too loud.
Someone said Jimmy too.
Yeah, I
because
don't
that
know why.
might be picking up all of us. Maybe we use one mic for now and use that as a
Sure.
full on, switch it to the...
Mostly when Corey talks.
Maybe just turn his mic off and we'll see if it fixes it.
Okay.
And then if it does, we'll
Oh, I
come over
turned his
here.
off already.
Oh, okay. So that's what we get for only using, a $100 microphone on Steam. It should be the right one.
Yeah, headphones won't do anything because we don't have sound on any computer.
Yeah, there's no sound on in the room at all because we're all in the same room.
So try that. See if they can hear me. Bob, maybe say something.
Hello, testing.
Yeah, I don't know why we're echoing because it worked fine the other night with the.
Hopefully that fixes it. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully so. Everyone's saying fixed.
Okay.
So
But can they hear us good?
yeah, can everyone still hear us? That's another question in itself. I apologize for the
Seems
technical
better.
Much better
difficulties.
now.
All right, so you got it fixed.
Yeah.
All right, now we can get into the questions. Hopefully,
You got a super chat.
another one from Nick K or different than Nick K.
Oh, did you already say it?
I did.
Oh.
Yeah, I got Nick K. All right, we're good. We're good. I gotta pull up my big screen though, because I am losing everyone. Here we go. So I just want everyone to witness how fast the chat is moving. For once, I didn't slow down the chat. And so that's why how fast it goes. So now you know when I normally slow it down, this is why I slow it down.
So whose mic are we using right now?
It's on Corey's right now.
Okay.
Oh, everyone's just through me at the moment?
Yeah, it's picking up 360.
I see.
Until we fix it next time. So.
All right.
And they're saying I'm quiet.
Well, you are quiet sitting over there, so.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the corner. I'm in the jail over here.
What would be the best Cory to start breeding for profit? In my opinion, stir-by Corys, because we sell the most of them. They're not the easiest to breed, though. Like albinos, bronzes, those are crazy easy to breed, but they don't sell for very much. Julii, I've got a customer breeding some Julii, which not that difficult, but sells well. And then the Panda Corys sell well, but they only have like 5 or 6 at a time. So, not the same clutches like an albino or a bronze that has like 300 at a time. let's see.
What about like the salt and pepper? Do you sell a lot of those?
I do sell a lot, but wholesale they're not very much, and we don't sell them as much retail. So they'd be fine. I mean, any corridor you want to breed that would breed in your water would be a good one. Like orange lasers, obviously, I was breeding for a while. They did pretty well. You don't sell a lot of them. I think I would have done better with stir-by as opposed to the orange lasers, but you know, I wanted the orange lasers, so there's always that factor. So.
They're saying I need to get closer to you, but I cannot. I
But
cannot be any closer.
Get out of his
Oh, man.
personal space.
That's right.
I'm going to be in his bubble.
Oh
What's that
man.
noise for?
You can move.
That was my doorbell from the house with the other parts we're waiting for the studio. So we were trying to get them fast here for Amazon, but that's not happening apparently. Wood, mulm, brown algae, autosynclus, trying to get rid of it. Been battling it for a while. Wood, mulm, and brown algae. I would use a bristlenose plecostomus. Like just general funk on wood. I don't know what you guys use, but I use bristlenose.
Yep, I use bristlenose for everything.
Snails would do it too.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Yeah.
take too long.
I guess we don't know what size.
Then when you had your little competition out there, did the bristlenose destroy the snails?
The bristlenose were faster, that's true. But if it was a 5-gallon tank, snails would work. So, yes, that was a doorbell. That I'm always out here. This is a different building than my house is. So when the doorbell rings, I have another remote doorbell out here. So when we get packages and stuff, like all the cables we're waiting on to make this setup even better, won't be an issue.
So Simply Beta has a question.
All right.
Could you touch on the relationship between pH and ammonia acidity? Is it worth chasing a little pH?
There's no way they just heard that. So, pH and ammonia, and is it worth chasing pH? Never. It's never worth chasing pH unless you're breeding like macrostoma. If you're into betas, like just because they straight up won't breed otherwise. But chasing pH is never, never a good thing. When the relationship between ammonia and pH at 6.4, it turns into ammonium, which is less toxic than ammonia, but most fish find pH 6.4 to be so harmful, you might even get pH burn and things like that going on, that it's not worth doing that. And that's kind of why you go too much lower than that. Let's say you're like 5.9, 5.8. Then you're running into an issue of like bacteria not even starting to survive. And some of like the chocolate gouramis and stuff like that, they end up going so low that the water changes. You water change all the time because there's no bacteria in the water, and then you have to bring in low pH water, which means you already had that going in a barrel. So like that's the perfect example of not breeding fish for profit. Would be chocolate gouramis and even like macrostoma and stuff. You really got to have water that lends itself to it, or something at your disposal that would make it a lot easier. Because it's a lot of work. That's why beta macrostoma are like $200 a pair. So who's got the next best question here?
I lost the person, but they said, are African cichlids good for breeding fish for profit? And I would say that my yellow labs are doing pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends where you are. Like in Washington, in my opinion, I would say not the best idea to breed African cichlids for profit. One, our water doesn't lend itself to it. But two, no one wants to buy them. So, I mean, not no one, but proportionately, I think they sell less than other fish. But if I was in like the East Coast and even the Midwest, African cichlids are super hot. And I think they're really easy to breed, in my opinion. So you can make a lot of them, but what makes something so easy to breed can also make a lot of competition. And then in general, African cichlids are really cheap from wholesalers like overseas. And so you're actually battling that price. And I'm not sure you can always win that battle. So it just depends on what your local scene looks like. And that's where in the series I talk about, honing in to what's going to sell in your market, where the holes are, where the good money is. Because like let's say you got a local store that will only give you $1 for a yellow lab, but they're willing to give you $5 for purple ACI. That fish is the same to raise and breed, really, and one's going to produce 5 times the yield. So, all right, who's got the best tips for breeding or for making bristlenose plecos grow super fast?
Lots of food, lots of water changes, like daily water changes, and more food, more food.
More food, more food, more food?
Yep.
Yeah. The one thing that I learned over the years of breeding bristlenose is that there was no magical food. It's just straight up food. So I watched people raise them, and I did even myself with only flake food ever. It was like the same efficiency as if I did Repashy, or I did floating or sinking pellets, or I did green beans. And it just is that like Repashy holds up so much better in water, whereas flake food losing a lot of its nutrients, and it's a real mess in the tank. So the more food you can actively keep them eating, the faster they're going to grow. And know that if you like do insane amounts of work and you really feed an insane amount, you're going to cut it down from like sellable size at 7 months down to like, oh sweet, I got it to 5. But you might have put in 3 times the amount of resources. So it's not always necessarily worth it.
Still fun though.
Yeah, breeding fish for profit, your main goal should always be having fun, because if you weren't having fun, it's never going to balance out unless you're in a different country or something like that, because minimum wages and things like that are so high here. You've got to be having some fun. There are very few people that can make money and don't enjoy it, but few and far between. Good fish to breed for profit in the South, such as Texas. I don't know that we can answer that question. That's going to be, your local market. You got to go to the fish stores. You got to watch what's selling. You got to look at your local Facebook group, if you have a local aquarium club, stuff like that, and just see what they're into. If they're all into flower horns, maybe you're going to make a ton of money in flower horns. If they're all into planet tanks, like I know in Texas somewhere, don't they have, in Houston, isn't it ADG is based out of Houston, Texas, I think? Aqua Design Group. So you might be able to do even plants instead of fish. A lot of options, but that's what makes this category so hard. Is I could say, oh, I'm making $1 million breeding guppies, and the next guy or girl can't give them away, and it could even be just 2 cities over. So and you could also have, like let's say me and Bob are competing, and we're both breeding guppies, and he's flooding a store already, and I'm trying to get in over there. It's just not going to work because he's already got a supply. What's with the slow?
What?
He's slowly creeping over.
Yeah. All right. Will I ever start up an Oscar tank? I won't say never, but I'm not likely to do it anytime soon. Are there going to be any giveaways tonight? Definitely not. Nope. Couldn't
No
be
giveaways.
Couldn't be less giveaways tonight.
What did I come here for then?
We'll give you away.
All right.
You get a date with Bob, or we'll give away Jimmy will come clean your aquarium. So,
Yeah, no dates.
what's a good fish to breed for? Oh, I already read that one. In Texas. All these other questions have nothing to do with breeding fish for profit. Corey, why don't I ship to Canada? Bad neighbor, man. Because Canadians are horrible when it comes to laws. So they make it infinitely difficult, and that's pretty much it. It's not only that, the same package that cost me $6 to ship in the United States, I could ship it all the way to Florida, which is way, way further than 30 minutes north, which would be Vancouver, BC. Shipping the package there cost me $25. Shipping it to the other end of the continent, basically, $6. So there's logistic issues, there's taxation issues, there's custom issues. The fact that my #1 selling product essentially is Easy Green, and when you ship fertilizer internationally through the mail, not exactly easy to pull off. And we tried other countries and stuff like that. We got to pull MSDSs to their specs, not even American specs. So don't get me wrong. I want all of your Canadian money. It's just your Canadian government is making it impossible for me. And I think that's a legitimate thing. They don't want American businesses infiltrating too much into the Canadian commerce. For that reason, altogether. So, the money stays in Canada, it doesn't really come out. And it's even with like lighting products, for instance, we're UL rated in the US. It has to be a different certification. So that's why companies like Phoenix and stuff like that won't even sell to Canada, because they don't want to pay the money to get it certified. And so Canadian government, unfortunately, making it difficult.
So I know we did a video about this, but Nick K, he just bought some assassin snails from you.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked, can you do assassin snails for profit?
Yeah, I think so. Assassin snails, when you buy them crazy bulk, are cheap, but most stores will never do that. And when you have way too many of them, like let's say, like I know tonight I have like 250 of them coming in, I'm going to have to put a ton of food into them to keep them from assassinating each other. So your average store might only need like 20 for a month or something like that. And if you feed heavy and lots of protein, they will replicate, and it might take you 6 or 8 months to ramp up. That's the problem, is people go, they're not breeding, but then 6 months later you go, wow, I got a lot more than I used to have.
Echo's back.
The echo's back. It shouldn't be. We didn't change anything.
Yeah.
It says Jimmy Echo.
Don't know. Anyway, lost my train of thought. It takes a long time to ramp up, and then you'll be able to sell them. Just don't sell way too many. That is the problem. Like, you don't want to cannibalize your colony to make the sale. But I think I've bred them for a long time, and I think anything you can make a profit on if your local area supports it. I don't think anyone needs, like, assassin snails probably won't sell nearly as well if everyone's into African cichlids, but if there's planet tanks, assassins should sell very well.
I think I fixed. I mean, is there an echo? I don't think it's echoing anymore.
Who knows? We'll get it figured out post live stream.
So Flynn's Fish Forum wants to know, how should he approach a fish store to sell fish he is breeding?
How did you do it? Because I own a store, and everyone's heard me before, but how did you sell to your local store?
So I did it by going to the fish store, and I was a regular customer, and just built a rapport over time. And then eventually asked if I was breeding anything. I said yes.
So he came to you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly. But the subject eventually came up on if I was breeding fish, and yeah. I asked him what he was selling, what he needed. He said guppies. So that's the start of my breeding fish for profit tank.
So at that point, were you even breeding guppies, or was he like, I need guppies, then you started breeding them?
I was telling him that I just got guppies, and then he told me that he needed them.
Okay.
And I got them as fry, so it took a long time, but now I can take like 50 in every week if I wanted to.
And do you only supply guppies now, or do you supply other stuff, or?
I do guppies and the bristlenose plecos I take in. And I just scoop shrimp out because I have thousands of them.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's actually the best way, I think, is if you go to that store quite often and you're buying stuff, and you could almost like subtly start that conversation like, do you know how to breed, leopard frog plecos? Because I'm breeding bristlenose, and I was just thinking about making the jump, and then if they need bristlenose, they might be like, oh yeah, do you have bristlenose you're looking to get rid of? And so that way you're basically telling them, I already know how to do this, and I'm wanting to go to higher levels. Is that something, even they might not even carry leopard frog plecos, they have no idea, but you just told them you breed them without going, would you like to buy them? And so you can test the waters before putting on the hard sales pitch. And then next time you talk about guppies, and the next time after that you talk about your cory cats or whatever it is. And eventually what's going to happen is the perfect storm's going to happen. They're going to order a bunch of cory cats. They're all going to come in and die. They're going to yell at the vendor. The vendor's going to yell back at them. And then you're going to come in the next day and you're going to ask them about some other fish. And they go, hey, do you still have those salt and pepper corydoras? And you will. And that'll start the relationship. You can obviously go in and just be like, hey, I'm a professional breeder. Here's my business card. Here's all the stuff I breed. Here are my prices. But I find people are finding that to be a lot harder because you don't know the prices, and so you might walk in and go, yeah, I'd like to get $5 for this fish, and wholesale's $1.22, and they sell it for $7, and there's that big price gap there. So L240 for profit. What's L240, Bob? Is that Colombian
the
snowball?
Queen Arabesque, or is that 260?
I think that's 260, but I can Google it. Google could tell me.
I don't know how to use this computer, otherwise I would.
I gave Bob a Mac,
I have
and
a
it's
Mac.
blowing
I
his
have no idea what I'm
mind.
doing. I'm like pressing to try to click, and it doesn't click anymore.
L240 is the Galaxy Pleco, Leprechaunthus.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I've never bred them, so that's always hard to weigh in on whether something's going to be profitable. But I'll say this: I think if you were able to breed them, there's buyers. Is that profitable? That I don't know. That's hard to know because I don't know how long it takes to raise it and how much food it's going to take. And right now, something like that Pleco usually retails about $50. Whereas, like, let's say it's just as hard to raise as a zebra Pleco. Well, a zebra Pleco, you're going to get at least 100 or 150. And so I think that's a lot of why we don't see a lot of these species being bred in captivity is because you can still get them wild caught, and then people aren't paying enough to raise it up without losing money. So
Yeah, I think you can make money on like the fancy strains of Plecos, but it's not going to be anything that's like worth your time. For instance, like you could throw in a bunch of guppies in a tank and make way more money.
yeah,
So-
I agree that I think
It's something that you'd have to really enjoy.
like the same 50-gallon tank, let's say, whether it was L240s or guppies, like just seeing in your fish room, guppies, plecos, and shrimp, I think you're going to way outperform the L240s unless the market's already saturated and your love is the L240s. In which case, like that adds a whole like, oh, let's add $500 to the pot because I really love this aquarium. That trumps everything for me. I would much rather breed something that I absolutely love and people will pay me 50 cents than something people will pay me $5, but I hate cleaning, I hate feeding, I don't like the way they look, and that's just me personally. Who wants to read the super chat?
I'll read it.
All right.
Brendan's Life. I have watched my local LFS, oh wait, it's just LFS, for 1 year and found that they only get shrimp very rarely but sell out in a week each time. Each guppies and bristlenose don't sell well at all.
Yeah, so I would say that's exactly the research you want to be doing. And so like maybe you replace guppies with platies, or let's say like I've done shrimp in Cyprichromis, which is Lake Tanganyika cichlid. But you already know you won't be making money off those guppies and those bristlenose, so switch it up. But it seems like shrimp is wide open for you. So you're going to make a killing there. You could also try, what about mystery snails? Like, are invertebrates just popular there? And then also, like, if shrimp are popular, maybe you could do assassin snails because people don't like pest snails with their shrimp colonies. And then also maybe plants. So you got to really analyze it, though. Once you analyze it, you'll do well, you know.
All right, we got to get this question out of the way because it's Sam. It's not related to what we're talking about, but he's asked about 100 times.
Sure.
He says, Jimmy, Corey, he doesn't care about me. If you guys like sugar cookies, chocolate chip cookies, and M&M cookies.
My favorite is sugar cookies. Not snickerdoodles, but sugar cookies. I don't like cinnamon. But if
M&M?
my absolute favorite is peanut butter.
Yeah. Or Reese's Pieces.
Well, let's not get crazy here. I'm just weighing in on it. I want to give a shout out to Solid Gold in the house. I think that might be a first here. Welcome, Jenny.
Pretty sure she was there last week.
Oh well, I miss everything. I don't know anymore. My chat moves too fast. Shrimp are hot in Florida, always sold out in my area. If something's always sold out, that is usually one of the first signs that it might be a good thing to get into. It could just mean the store's keeping it rare around there, but usually people like not selling out of stuff. And so I can think of another whole aspect to breeding fish for profit that we've never talked about before, and that is, like right now, if you were breeding select fish, I would buy them from you at an inflated price because it's too hot to ship them to me. So a lot of the wholesalers aren't ordering in things like Amano shrimp, live blackworms, trying to think of some other things. White clouds, for instance. White clouds are not doing anything that can't handle the hotter temperatures. They don't want to ship around the country. And so if you were supplying those to your local store, obviously you can keep them in the correct temperature at your house, drive them over there, correct temperature at the store, so you can work on that. And I think that would probably work the same way in winter too. If you like, I don't have that problem because it doesn't snow that much here, but I got to wager maybe in Ohio, Jimmy, or something like that. Like it snows so bad that fish aren't moving around. And well, for you in Ohio, was it like it snowed and then it was like just a block of snow for like 3 weeks straight,
Pretty
or
much.
so then no one's
it's
buying
pretty
fish?
sporadic at times too. So, but when it snows pretty hard. So.
Because I'm just thinking like if no one can move, no fish are selling, so that doesn't work. But if it was like we don't want to ship because it's too cold, well, yeah, is it too cold?
Of that too, yeah.
Okay.
I would try to buy on eBay or something, and no one wants to ship to me because they find out my zip code and they just deny it.
So yeah, I mean the wholesalers might be doing that as well. And so if you could supply your local store and you drive them in your heated car the whole way there, that might be another thing. You might be able to bring that up to your local fish stores. Go, it's like 100 degrees, but in my temperature-controlled fish room and car to here, no stress at all. Doesn't that sound nice? So, I hadn't thought about that till now because it's hot, and I know that I ordered stuff today that we got to go pick up at the airport that did not ship because of heat. So, and I do know I run all the time into the monsoon season when I'm importing stuff. That, like, there was like 6 months for a while where money could not buy a Amano shrimp. It was crazy. That was like 2 years ago though, but it was real bad storm season. So, I have
you might know, I don't know anything about this, but can you talk about backyard breeders versus legit breeders, taxes and licensing? I mean, I guess I would be a backyard breeder because I just take my fish in and get in store credit. I don't do taxes on it. Why would
yeah, I think legally, you would need to have a business license, even if you're getting store credit. And I believe that even the business itself has to run it like it's money. So, like, even if I hand you store credit at my store, I'm going to ring it up like it's a sale, and I'm going to pay taxes on it, because that's just what you have to do, because whenever goods leave a store, someone's paying tax. That's just the way the government works. And so the difference would be, eventually, if you make more than like $800 in a year and someone catches on to it, they're going to go through your books. Now, the question becomes, how are they going to catch on to it? Usually they're not going to unless the store. So like, let's say I was working with a lot of breeders and I wasn't doing it correctly, and I get audited and they find that I've been doing this with all these people, chances are they're going to fine me a ton unless I give up your name. And so I'm going to go, well, yeah, I'm buying from Bob. And then what's going to happen is they're going to talk to Bob and they're going to go, oh, you made $622. Well, that's below the threshold, doesn't matter. But then they're going to go, oh, Jimmy, oh, $804? Well, now you've broken the threshold. We're going to, give you a 20% fine, and so you're going to owe them $160. But really, they just want to get everyone back in line, and they're really looking for, and fish stores are a business where money does get laundered because you just say fish die and fish bred and things like that. But they're looking for big players and money being laundered. But I think it comes down to being a legit business sets you up to really grow and not have growing pains, whereas being a backyard breeder, typically you only stay as a backyard breeder. And I would say it's actually easier to be a legit breeder because it helps you get wholesale accounts where you might be able to buy some of your goods wholesale and stuff like that to actually feed your fish. And I know there's a lot of places, like let's say Gemco. If you have a retail store, for instance, I items are slightly cheaper, like 3% cheaper than online, which 3% is not a lot, but it is a little bit of savings. So it would cover, for a lot of states, your business license and things like that. And in general, I don't like to sleep at night, worrying what I've done wrong. And a lot about the law is if you know it's wrong, they're really going to throw the book at you. If you have no idea you're doing something wrong, like how could I have known? So I think the leeway is a lot different between a 45-year-old who owns 3 businesses and he's doing that on the side versus, let's say, the Fish Life Sam, where he's 13 or 14 or however old he is, and he didn't know that he made one spawn of discus and he was able to sell them all and he made $801 and he technically has broken a law. They would probably just look the other way and go, well, let's next time we're going to have to do this. So I've been corrected that is not solid gold in the chat, or at least that's what people are telling me.
No, it's not.
Facebook is blowing up. My computer is blowing up over here.
It's not her.
So, let's see. Breeding puffers, I don't think it's profitable. You could do it. Pea puffers are one of the few you could breed, but I don't think it's going to be profitable. How do you get a license to sell your fish? You just get a business license. Now, I know, like, I've talked to Greg Sage in Colorado. That's like, I think he's got to pay $400 a year. In Washington State, I think it's like $25, and then in the city of Edmonds, where my store is, it's like another $100.
Yeah, mine was $175.
So I think depending on the city you're actually in and the state you're in and all that is how much it's going to change. And it does seem brutal. Like $175, if you're only doing $1,000, it's like 10% of all the money I make is going straight to, government. But that's just the way it works.
We got a $5 super chat from the River Life.
Ooh.
Thank you all for building the hobby community. Here's an idea for profit. Overwinter young koi indoors and sell it at an upgraded size in spring.
Yep. I think the money is actually better in doing that, taking like feeder goldfish and raising them and overwintering them inside, and then you can get a few dollars each out of them, because not a lot of places are doing that. So it's actually harder for me to buy, let's say, like a 5 or a 6-inch goldfish than it is koi. Koi I can buy any size I want, any variety I want, all those types of things. But it can be hard to get just really nice comets. And I would say that's a perk, is that you can walk into that store and you can go, hey, I've had these. They've been in my possession for 8 months now. They're not going to crash on you. And especially if the season comes early, like let's say it warms up and it's March, no wholesalers usually have goldfish or koi ready, and you could be first to market going, well, I do, and they're healthy, and they're ready. So, you got to play your strengths. Whereas, like, if in Florida, it's probably always hot enough, and they're probably like, yeah, who doesn't have a bunch of goldfish laying around? So.
What about what's the best plant to grow for profit?
The best plant to grow for profit is, well, maybe Java moss, because there's unlimited demand. But it grows slow is the problem. Do you sell some plants online, right?
I would say anything that grows fast and floaters. So jungle val, stem plants.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it sounds kind of mean, but a lot of people don't know how to grow plants.
Right.
And they'll buy them, kill them, and buy more. So yes.
Yeah, there's a learning curve. I mean, that's...
Yes, you can make money.
Yeah, I would, if I was going to set up like a growing for profit right now, I would definitely have some Java moss tanks going. I would have probably Val, because that's just a good one. And then I would probably do hornwort or something like that. Guppy grass. Yeah, that one. So here's the problem for me. Like, I just know a lot of people kill guppy grass because they put them into brand new tanks and they starve to death. And so me going, oh, don't get me wrong, I could grow a ton of it and I could sell a ton of it. I'm just worried that a bunch of people are going to kill it. And so I always got to think in the back of my mind, I've got this like reputation I'm trying to protect. Not that other people aren't trying to protect it, but you can spend the time, let's say you only have 50 customers. You can spend the time to talk one-on-one with them and make sure and reship it and make sure it lives, where I don't have that time to really manage each one of them. And I wouldn't want it to be like, yeah, I keep buying plants for koi and they die every time, and it's horrible when it just needs a little bit more TLC.
Amazon Research Center said, hey, I resemble that plant killer comment. So.
Yep.
One of my best-selling plants was the red root floater. People love that. Even though hardly anyone can actually make it turn red, they still love it.
Yeah, I would say the best money-making plant I ever had was Siswasertang, but that was like 8 years ago when it was much rarer. People were willing to pay a lot of money for that. So.
You see the giraffe cat, barely.
Giraffe cat's out?
Yeah, the tank is so distracting. I keep on looking behind you because all the clown loaches are out. So.
I should say, speaking of plants, there is a plant sale going on at my website. Use the code PLANTS30, gets you 30% off of all the plants you order. And we do have more plants coming in tomorrow. So I knew doing a plant sale, we had plants come in Friday, and then we sold out and everyone cried about it. And then we had plants come in Saturday, and then they sold out, a lot of them, and everyone cried about it. And we've got more plants that me and Jimmy will be picking up tonight. Well, maybe tonight, maybe early morning, depends on when they come in. And they'll restock again tomorrow. So the sale goes to basically tomorrow night at midnight. And that's the full gamut. And we've got more plants obviously coming in after that, but we've got to actually restock the coffers at that point. So I throw out 2 handfuls of guppy grass every week. Grows like a weed. It does indeed, Lumpy Dog. It grows so fast if you give it the nitrogen. If it doesn't, so with fast plants, if they grow really fast, they also can die really fast. And that's like hornwort for me. It's like I can get it to grow like a foot a day. I can also get it to drop every needle it had overnight. And it's the biggest mess I've ever seen. So
River Life says, ordered a lot of plants. Thanks for the sale.
Good. I know my packers tomorrow are going to hate life just because
yeah,
we might even go in and help. Depends on when last time we did a big sale, me and Jimmy went and packed for 5 hours straight. So we got 10 hours of packing done between the two of us. So anything to look for when choosing strands of guppies to breed? I'd say just choose what you like. A lot of times what you like is what other people like. In general, color wins. So, a solid color usually does a little bit better than something that's not solid color, but not always. The color black might not sell as well as a yellow guppy or a red guppy or something like that. Benjamin says, I love to grow out feeder goldfish and sell them for $8 each. Yeah, I mean, it's...
What about fancy goldfish? I've never bred a goldfish. I don't know. I don't even know anything about them.
Here we go.
I'm laughing because Kaylee just messaged me and says, I already hate you. She knows that the pain's coming tomorrow morning for plant orders. So I tried fancy goldfish. I ordered a bunch of Ryukins, a bunch of small... It's like a bag of small Ryukins, a bag of small Arandas, and a bag of small Ranchus. What I learned was I would never, ever, ever order the Ranchus and the Ryukins again because they grew crazy slow. The Arandas, not as slow, but at the end I was still for me personally, because I could buy wholesale, I was I did a bunch of work, and I feel like whether I buy them from someone else or I raise them, it's the same amount of money, and so I could use these tanks of water to do something that would actually make me money. And so I myself am convinced I can't make money from doing it. But if you had a spring running through your property or something and it was outside and you just had to dig holes or something like that, I could see that. If they're eating a lot of bugs and you had some natural stuff going for you. But in this room is actually where it was all behind me. There was all the 300-gallon totes and auto water change, auto feeders. They were growing, but I think for me personally, the store, it was better to buy wholesale than it was to grow them out.
So Joe in Michigan says, would I be better off breeding a mono shrimp and white clouds or just plants in a 10-gallon?
That's hard to say.
I don't know that you can breed a mono shrimp.
Yeah, so you're going to really struggle to breed a mono shrimp. But, for the business, let's say you're shipping online, I would say plants are way better because they're super duper easy to ship. And if you were good at social media, you could find some plant groups and things like that. If you're just breeding the white clouds, I don't think people are going to pay you enough unless they were gold and longfin to make it worth your while to actually ship and do things like that. So I feel like if you only got a 10-gallon and you were going to go online, plants are the way to go.
Yep.
You could trim them often.
Well, you could even do plants and white clouds. Like, I don't know why it has to be one or the other.
True, yeah, exactly. You could be farming the plants and the white clouds at the same time, for sure. I actually plan to be doing that in one of the little series coming up as part of my plan. So, do I use methylene blue for eggs? I have in the past. I currently don't, but I have used it quite a bit. Mostly with angelfish and Corydora eggs is all, though. Grow Ludovigia white, $65 a stem. I'd be curious to know how many buyers there are. That's,
I think it's come down a lot in price because I saw some for 30.
Yeah.
But
and even
just
still,
the new flavor of the month.
Mm-hmm.
People asking me to wave. I'm just in the background.
They're making sure you're not a zombie.
Yep.
How often should you sell a particular strain of fish to maximize profit, not oversaturate your local area? I think it's going to depend on how many the store moves, and assuming you're selling to a store. Like obviously, Seattle is going to consume way more fish than Akron, Ohio did. So it does depend where you are, but even in a retail store, I like things to go out of stock. And so if you can always walk into my store and I always have German blue rams, you just, don't go, oh, I better get these ones. You go, I'll have them next week. And then you go, I'll have them next week. And pretty soon it's been 3 months. But if you go in one time and I'm out of rams, you go, oh, geez, I was going to get those today, even though you really weren't going to get them. And then you come back the next time and they're back, and it's like, oh, I better get them. So letting them go out of stock a little bit, resting them for whatever, Like I know at my store, my recency, people come in every 23 days. And so I need something to sit out of stock for almost a month for everyone to go, oh gosh, he's out of it. And then when it comes back on their next trip, they're ready to buy it. So, but I don't know if that's the same in Ohio or Florida or Michigan or on your online website or your local Facebook group. I haven't tested those things, but I do know oversaturation can be a problem. Do you ever intentionally let them sit out of stock at the store you sell to?
No.
And
even when they're full on stock, I still take them in and I'll take them.
So yeah, I mean, as long as someone's willing to buy from you, then that's all that matters, really. Oh, go ahead.
Read bettas for profit.
Bettas for profit? I can't, because I just don't think that land is cheap enough here in Washington, and help isn't cheap enough. But I think I could do mouth brooding bettas like Alba marginata, the strawberry betta, maybe Pugnecks. I brought those home. Some of the mouth brooding bettas maybe, because you don't have to jar them all up and things like that. And people buy them in groups. Like that's a huge thing when it comes to breeding fish. People usually are going to come in and like, I want 1 half moon betta. Whereas like betta Pugnecks, they're going to go, ooh, I want like 2 boys and a girl. So you're selling at least 3 at a go right there. And they're just way easier to raise up. Yeah, they're only going to sell for about $10, but they pretty much raise themselves. They will almost just colony breed in a tank. So
Nick K has a question that I'm curious about. He says he's breeding yellow rainbow fish, and they take so long to get big, which we all know. Probably not the greatest fish to breed for profit, but what size should he sell them as? So when you're buying them, what size do you get them as?
So at the wholesaler, they sell them, they list them as 2 inches, and they are about that big. The problem with a 2-inch fish is they're not colored up. So they don't sell in my store. So let's say the wholesale price off the top of my head is like $6 or something on that fish. I would much rather spend $9 on that fish, but it's 3 inches and colored up. That sells the next day that's in my store. And so maybe that's your play, but your local store might be like, oh, well, we only pay this price, and our customers are buying it at this price, and so it does you no good to grow them bigger, you're just losing money. That being said, I realize that a 3-inch rainbow is literally like 2 years of your life, of hard work, and you're only getting $9 for it, or whatever it's going to be wholesale.
Yeah, so everyone knows I love rainbows, and I have hundreds of them, but I do not breed them specifically for that reason.
I've raised up rare ones just because that was the only way I could get them, but it's a nightmare scenario. So, yeah. Is there... Okay, is that what you're doing with the Crinum calmistratum? I've been waiting for a month now. So no, I'm not... There's a bunch of things like Crinum calmistratum that the farms just don't have them. So I order them and they don't ship them. I run into that problem just because we literally buy them out. So there are things that, like, you know, let's say it took forever to sell a group of Celestial Pearl Daniels. We'll let them sit out for a month, then we'll bring them back. But then there's things like the Crinum where we sell everyone we ever get our hands on really quickly and literally just aren't more. I think the actual problem from the Crinum is that it's too hot and they're not being shipped into the country. I think that's the actual hang-up.
So Mostly Harmless 1985 says, what can be done about high pH hard water to get success in breeding? I don't know, that sounds like a pretty good situation for me.
I wonder...
High pH hard water, but he doesn't specify what he's breeding.
Right, so obviously your water lends itself to live bears, so like that's an awesome one.
Yeah, I love that water.
African cichlids, so like already you've hit like two major groups of fish. Even some snails and stuff like that, you know, so snails. And then shrimp, like you could do the Malawi shrimp, you might be able to pull off cherry shrimp if it's crazy hard, maybe not, but for sure Malawi shrimp. You might even do cardinal shrimp, which typically need really hard water and it needs to be stable. Some of the other Sulawesi shrimp. What else is really hard water that would do well? Well, for breeding, those are going to be the easiest things. Yeah. I can't think of anything else. Have I ever bred or sold blind cavefish? I've sold them before at a store I worked at. Never bred them. And I don't think they'll be good for profit because most people don't like owning that fish because they just tear up everything because they feel with their mouth. And so everything you have that looks nice just gets torn up. So cool fish. I've kept it before, but it's not one that I even sell in my store, and I wouldn't breed because I would be afraid. That being said, I have not tested it lately, but I do think it would not be profitable.
Priscilla asks, is it going to be a Facebook stream after this?
Don't know yet. Depends if we can get all our equipment ducks in a row. You know, we got some testing to do apparently. But we're going to do one of two things at least. We'll probably either go here an hour and there an hour, or we will go here for 2 hours, which maybe we'll do an hour, because that'll give us a chance. We'll do like this until 6, and then we'll do a 20-minute break where Jimmy runs around with his head cut off going, oh my God, how do I fix the audio? And then when we get that dialed in, we'll go live on Facebook and we'll continue the conversation. That gives us a break, and yeah. How can a hobbyist breeder find out wholesale prices? Chances are you're not going to be able to, Jim. And even if you could, it doesn't help you. Because, like, let's say a clown loach, for instance. I can buy... So, if I'm being honest, this week I could have bought clown loaches anywhere from 99 cents to $60 a piece. And, you know, and so I ordered some clown loaches for this tank, obviously, at a certain price. And then they shipped me a different one. So I'm actually paying quite a bit more than I was expecting. That being said, I haven't seen them yet. Maybe they'll come in extra big and I'll be super happy. But even if you knew, like, okay, 2-inch clown loach sells at $4 or whatever it's going to be, other vendors are going to do different things. And then that might be, because we're in an international airport, it's going to be way different if you're in the middle of the country and you don't have an international airport. So really, I would look for trying to get... striving for 1/3 of what the store is selling it for. So if they sell, you know, a dwarf neon rainbow for $15 and you can get $5, that's amazing. But I retail dwarf neon rainbows for $5 and people tell me all the time their local stores sell them for $15. So you got to analyze that market, and obviously I can get them cheap enough that I can sell them at $5 and make a profit, but maybe the other stores can't. You know, it just all depends.
So I lost the comment, but someone asked how long is the plant sale going, and I think it's tomorrow midnight?
Tomorrow at midnight, yeah.
Through Monday?
Yep, because we've got that whole plant order coming in tonight / tomorrow morning, and I know people are waiting on Java ferns, Anubias nana petite. It didn't ship, but I ordered bulbitis. There's Stargany Repens. There's Anubias Nana, or not Anubias Nana, but Anubias Golden. There's other stem plants and stuff as well. So whatever we were kind of sold out of the whole weekend, a lot of stuff is coming in to fill in. But it'll probably sell out again, and then you're going to go, you're out of everything. But then next week it'll be back in stock. But you guys will have all your plants, so it won't matter.
Might as well grab some rocks with it too, because you got those up, right?
The rocks are awesome. We got some new rock packages Kaylee did of the Dragonstone. I already saw some sold today, but good stuff. We were admiring. We actually filmed some of it 2 nights ago. Was that last night? I don't know. Doing a lot of work and not a lot of else. I don't know what day it is anymore. How do you find the wholesaler code numbers for fish?
Yeah, he's been asking for
I don't know
wholesale
what that
prices.
means.
Oh.
He wants wholesale. Like,
So here's how you find out. You spend $100,000 to $200,000. You open up a retail store, and then they call you. Literally every day, someone calls me going, "We would love it if you spend $5,000 a week with us." That's how you do it. Because if you have the money to open the retail store, they know you have the money to buy fish. If you can't afford to open a retail store, they don't want to talk to you because you can't spend $5,000 a week with them. So that's kind of how it goes. Is you got to open up a retail spot. They hunt you down because they don't make it. They don't want someone else calling them. That's a waste of their time. It's much easier for them to pay an employee to just look up stores and call them. And they literally do that. They'll call. They'll make it through the entire United States. Then they'll start over again. And they just keep doing that. They go down every state's directory of pet stores and stuff like that and trying to drum up business. Which is, it's a perfectly good system. Do I sell pond plants? We sell some water hyacinth at the store, but we don't, we don't ship them.
Is breeding fish in a community tank practical? Possible?
Yeah. So I'm going to, I've got betta pugnacks in with the bettas, or with the guppies, and I've done that before, and there's shrimp in there, and I've had that combo. It's a 75-gallon tank, obviously, but I've done that combo before, and it works. It's all about how much you feed and the fish you put together. Like, if I put one Crebensis in there or one German blue ram, like I'll never get fried or like any of those things. So you got to put the right species together, but it could be done. We actually just noticed 2 nights ago, I was like, why is this tank always looking so terrible? And it's because I did a live stream like 5 weeks ago at night on Facebook, and I flipped the switch to always on. The light's been on for 5 weeks straight.
For 24 hours.
I thought I just had it set so like it went off at 10 p.m. or something, and we were here,
So
we were
2
working
o'clock
at like 2 o'clock in the morning, like, this light's still on? No wonder. And so it'd been on for 5 weeks straight, so I'm hoping that algae's gonna start fixing itself. So yeah, that was my bad, Light's been on a long time for those guys. Yeah, hit that like button. Every like Jimmy gets is another minute of free time he gets. Once a week. Let's not be
a dislike.
a dislike.
Got 10
Ooh.
of those.
Every time he gets a dislike, he has to get a take out the garbage.
That's so bad?
Good one, worse. He's like, what? What's it gonna be? Not so bad. German blue ram colony breeding for profit popular in your area. Would you recommend it? It's not popular in my... Well, German blue rams are popular. Breeding them in a colony is not popular around here. Would I recommend it? Yeah, possibly. Like, I do know Dean used to do that, and he would crank out... He was supplying to the wholesaler, this is like 30 years ago, he was supplying 3,000 a week to the wholesaler. So that's how he did it. But I would
What size
wager...
tank?
He was doing it... He was actually doing it in a 20 long. And so he had all these females. He'd cram in all the fish, and he used half clay pots. And he would just keep swapping the pots out every couple of days. And he would artificially hatch all the eggs outside, so they would just breed all the time. And he just kept moving the pots and replacing the same pot that he already had sitting dry right in the same spot. And they would just colony breed up a storm. And so that's how he was able to get... At this point, I'll tell the whole story, and then we'll get to the super chat from Kyle. He was renting out, I believe, like 3 heated storage units. Because back then, they're like, power's cheap, all that kind of stuff. So he had like free water, well, not free, but cheap water, cheap heat, all that. And he was just renting out storage spaces. And when you're selling 3,000 of anything a week, it'll pay for it. And it was working out pretty darn good for him. But then eventually, I think they implemented the clause like you have to pay for power, and that kind of brought it tumbling down because all the rams had to be really hot and stuff like that. So kind of gotta abuse a market when you can. So Kyle's Wild World, I feel my area, Dallas, has a bad market for fish because the local fish stores are run by dumb people. I feel bad to say it, but I feel I'm being honest. As a breeder, what can I do to fix this without draining myself? Well, that can be a problem. Is you end up being the white knight and doing all the change. But if you can find some other like-minded people, look for a local fish club, look for a Facebook group, and just see if you can build a name for yourself of, oh, you have great fish. And eventually that'll keep going and going and going, and then hopefully you'll find a store that isn't horrible, or someone will get better. But it's a full-time job trying to fix a hobby like that, and you're right, it will drain you because you'll feel like you're just being defeated because it's not going to change quick. A lot of changes get done when a store goes out of business and the next store opens. That's when change happens. Like, a lot of people will just like ride that burning pile down into the ground until it obliterates. So yeah.
So King Lee says, what are your thoughts on people purposely mislabeling fish for profit? What can you do about it? Because I ran across it from a store that I won't say. We told them about it, and they still didn't do anything. So I don't know. I don't know if we can do anything about it.
I'm not sure there's really anything you can do about it. Like, you could leave a bad review. The problem is this, like, there's nothing to stop anyone from doing it. And wholesalers do it all the time too. Like, you can't stand outside the store and be like, just so you know, blah 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 is actually labeled this. Like, you've got a life, right? And so you can kind of, white knight it as much as you want, but really you got to try and the best way, I think, to combat that is maybe leave an honest review about the store. Don't give them 0 stars because they mislabeled one fish, but maybe you give them 2 or 3 stars and you go, hey, the quality on the fish, they're actually healthy, but there's a problem with the labeling that's going on there. And then do what you can to promote a store that you see is doing the right thing. That's kind of what you can do, is go, all right, don't do this, but do this. And that's all you can really do is, kind of vote with your dollars. So.
Should I read this super chat from Kenny Lee?
Sure, yeah.
Jimmy looks like he's in a jail cell, but he's trying to make it through by decorating the walls. I should start marking day by day.
That would be amazing. We should do that.
Etch it though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, his corner's getting some love.
Yeah. You gotta still decorate Bob's corner.
Yeah, look at my corner. Jeez.
That we started setting up today. I mean, the reality is people won't know that what we've spent so far is mind-blowing. Like, the walls don't have a lot yet because we haven't had a lot of time, but the amount of equipment that is sitting around here is impressive. Like, we had to run to Best Buy today just to get extra Blue Yeti microphone.
And now we're not even using it right now.
We're not even using it currently right now. And an extra webcam and all that. And we literally get to the counter and the guys, there's 2 guys, one's me and Train and one's work there, like, what are you guys doing? Yeah. Because it was like, we need all this stuff, please. And we're like, well, it's kind of a YouTube thing, and aquariums. Oh yeah, those are things. So, but yeah, we're gonna decorate some more. I mean, I decorated. We got an 800-gallon aquarium behind me. We talked about putting an aquarium kind of where his drone is at the moment, but time is money, and we're trying to get ready for me to go on a trip. And then I'll come back and Jimmy will have it. Like, I'm trying to think of something hilarious. Like, what are they? It needs to be like a honey room or a honeymoon suite room where it's like, you've got a honey room. You've got like a heart-shaped bed and everything's covered like in red velour and like, what have you done?
Like in Dumb and Dumber.
Yes. It's like, oh geez. But no, we'll get some flair in here. I mean, you can't see it, but there's actual artwork on the walls. Like, there's legit artwork.
There's a little beach there.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time. It's not overnight. We got to go, ooh. And show them the big screen. I love the big screen. The big screen's no joke. we've got us up here. This is where we've been watching everyone else. It's a, what is it, a 55-inch? 50-inch TV where we're watching everyone else's live streams while we work. So yeah, you can see me over here. You can see kind of all this equipment here, then all the equipment over there.
Look at Bob's little corner.
That's right, Bob just crying. But yeah.
Viewer ceiling is what people say.
All right, let's tackle this, the last question, and then we're going to take a brief intermission, and we will continue on Facebook, assuming Jimmy can get the audio fixed. And I'm not being hard on Jimmy because I'm just really horrible at this, and he can usually fix things quickly, so hopefully he can do that. But any tips or tricks of getting over the anxiety and fear that comes along to selling or to trying to get yourself out there and sell fish and breeding fish? You guys got any tips? Like to get over the fear of like meeting with the public or a store or something like that?
It's going to sound lame, but you just got to do it. You got to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm not afraid, so I usually just post stuff on Craigslist or on Facebook community groups. Really easy.
So you can kind of be anonymous there. You know, you don't have to really worry about it. Maybe pick the most timid person at the store. You know, like there's got to be like someone else. Let's say there's 5 employees. There's one that you connect with more. Approach them first and use them as like your buffer. And if they're like, yeah, you should totally sell us this. Let me go get, you know, Steve. That will force you right into that situation right there. But the employee will have already opened the door, and there's a lot less chance for, you know, a lot less chance for rejection, I guess. So, yeah.
People didn't know we were in the same room.
Yeah, we're all in the same room. This is the new studio. Like, we want it so that people can come visit and just hop in where Big Steen is and make magic happen. You know, we do want to get a couch and stuff so we can sit and watch the 800 gallon, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, slow and steady. We literally went and bought desks at a business that was closing down. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 desks. Bought 2 office chairs. We currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 monitors with 2 more on the way. So that'll be 8. Because like right here I've got the chat. And ideally I'm going to want like Facebook chat over here. And then I'll want something like Nightbot and stuff right here. And Jimmy's going to need the same thing. Like he's got to watch the chat. He's also got to run the live stream equipment. And he might even need another one. And then luckily our guest probably only needs 1. But we're trying to make it easy and, you know, have fun. That's the cool thing. We're going to have fun. So
I want to answer one more question, but
do
I
it.
can't find it.
Oh. Well, that was a letdown.
I tried to hit Control F, but this is a Mac and it doesn't know that.
Oh,
it doesn't
no.
know how to do find.
Command F, maybe?
Oh.
Yeah, it's that little swirly looking for.
You mean Windows F?
That's right.
I'm basically just looking. Oh, and it's Aiden, and he's asked this like 100 times, so I feel bad.
Okay.
But he says, Aquarium Co-op, Steam Fun Aquatics, how much does it hurt the relationship between the local fish store and breeder if a parent cuts down the number of tanks, meaning no breeding? Well, I guess I didn't read that last line, but if you're not breeding, then there's no relationship, right? Like if you have no fish to take in, maybe he's just cutting down the amount of fish you can take in.
So maybe, like, let's say you had 10 tanks running, you're supplying fish, and then your parents are like, hey, you got to go down to 5 tanks. And then, so I think what you're trying to ask is like, when you go into that store and you're like, hey, my production's going to be lower, is that still okay? I think it is what it is. You know, there's not a lot you can do, but I would, like, to me it sounds like you might not have been making enough money. Like, sometimes your parents just be like, well, you're only making $30, that's not enough, and you're taking up our entire garage. So maybe you need to pick better species and like work your way back there. Like take those 5 tanks, make more money, then slowly expand again. I don't know the reason you had to scale down, but it pretty much always hurts the relationship a little bit whenever you were doing something for someone and now you're not. Like sometimes it's okay. Like at other points in life, like let's say you were to get a divorce or have a baby, like a major life-changing event. Oh, my grandmother's sick. But when you don't really have a good excuse and you're kind of just like, yeah, I have less now, you know, they're just going, oh, are you getting out of it? So their mind might be going, I better find someone to do this because it looks like he's getting out. Even though you're not, but, you know, that's what they might think. So it could hurt you, but You know, you might be able just to find another store anyway. Who knows? So.
People are asking where's the other stream going to be and how do I get there?
So the other stream is going to be on the Aquarium Co-op Facebook page. You go to Facebook, you type in Aquarium Co-op or Aquarium Coop will probably get you there. I can probably link it right up from my computer here. Let me 1 second. Yes, I can. I'll put it in chat and give us a few minutes to fix audio. Hopefully we can get that going a little better. And we'll be live. So I think that's all the questions for this platform. We'll continue on the other platform shortly. Jimmy, make it happen.
Peace, guys.
We'll see you later, guys. Next week.